I would like to start the study session, call the meeting to order, and have a roll call.
Alderperson Robinson. Hurt.
Here.
Tweet. Here. Swanson. Here. Parker. Here. Poulos.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
And Mayor Tomes.
Here. Thank you very much. And public comment. Did anybody sign up for public comment on this one? For the study session? Or the regular council meeting?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We'll help straighten that out.
Okay.
Which do you now we're going to be talking about the library and Centennial Bridge in this session. Then we're going to take a little break, and at 6:45 start the regular council meeting and talk about the TIF and other things.
There you go. 6:45.
So 6:45 comment. That's fine. Just not a problem. We just make sure people get a chance. Seeing nothing and hearing nothing for public comment, we'll move on. And I got to silence my phone. The library presentation, Angela.
Yeah, actually I have a couple presentations for you tonight, and this is first off our annual report. This is what's due every year to the state library, so it's a law in the Illinois compiled statutes. We call it the 410, which is the last two numbers. And in this report, which is due to the city within 60 days of the end of the fiscal year, I did email that to the city clerk and the finance director, so I am in compliance with that. So we're a little later this year. Why are you asking me questions? What does that say? Can anyone see? Adobe. I don't care.
I lost.
Okay. Of course. I hate computers. Let's go back to this. Maybe it'll do it in the background. At least we don't have flip charts anymore, right? So we're going to get started with the annual report and all the required contents of what the state library wants from us, which includes revenues, expenditures, information about our collections, our property acquisition, different partnerships, fund requirements for 2026, liabilities, accumulations, and then some stats of note and some fun pictures. And that'll be the first part of the presentation, and the second part is our strategic plan. So library revenue in 2024, I always like to preface this with I pull a report as late as I can. The books weren't closed at that time, so there might be a small variance if you go back and look, but in general, that is what our revenue stood at in 2024, and as you can see, most of it comes from the municipal library tax levy and the district library tax levy at 94% of our revenue. The rest is from our state grants as well as donations. We did receive some ARPA funds this year, thank you so much, and then we did pull from our reserve funds as well. So our expenditures, our operational is around a little over 2.8 million, and then we did have the capital money that we used for our external stone restoration project. Over 10 years ago, we had it completely redone and refurbished along with the roof, and at that time they said every 10 years you should do maintenance on it, and so this was the 10th year, and we did plan that, and everything is good to go now with the building for another 10 years hopefully. Our collection stats, we own over 160,000 print items. Our physical materials circulated, that is all physical materials. In a later slide you'll see a different number, but this actually includes our library of things, our books, just everything that you can check out from the library. It's at 148,000 plus. We do subscribe to 8 different downloadable and streaming platforms, and as you can see, and especially in another slide, that's up, and we're almost getting to the point where it's about even with our physical materials checkouts. So we haven't lost anything in physical material checkouts. We've actually just gained all of these electronic materials. So that's wonderful. We didn't purchase anything this year. I just wanted to remind everyone where our locations are. And we have the downtown Southwest, Watts Midtown, the mobile library, and then a lot of people forget that we are open 24/7 on our web page. We did purchase the parking lot last year. We're still waiting on our master plan to figure out how we want to incorporate that into our downtown campus. Partnerships, I'm really thrilled that the state asks this on the Illinois Public Library Annual Report, because we couldn't do what we do without all of our partners. As you can see, our live and virtual offsite programs were over 300 with over 10,000 attendees at our partner locations this year. So this is just off-site from the library. So we have over 75 different partners this year. That is an increase of over, I think, 50 last year. So the result for us and what we get out of that are more library card holders, as well as being able to promote literacy for all in the community. And just so you can see how many that is, we did list them. My apologies if we forgot anyone. We try to keep a rolling list all year. So as you can see, it's varied. We do a lot with the assisted living facilities in Rock Island. We do a lot with our clubs like Kiwanis and Rotary, in schools, of course. So just a great group there, and we hope to continue that into the next year. So at the January board meeting, we discussed what our fund requirements are for 2026. That is part of this annual report that is required by the state. And after a lengthy discussion, we felt that a 5% increase ask for next year would keep us in line with how we're doing with our budget at this time. So that would equal $2.815 million in the local library tax levy. And that is because we just negotiated a new union contract, and we know what those wage increases are going to be. And then we also know that our electronic items just keep going up, up, and up. Hopefully you got to see the article in the newspaper about how libraries pay more for electronic items. We don't expect that to change. If you need a copy of that article, please email me and I will send it to you. But it is at least 5% every year for those items, as well as our databases and our online resources. Our goal is always a balanced budget, and we were able to do that this year with your help, so I just want to say thank you for that. Accumulation and liabilities slide is probably the most unreliable, because I pull a balance sheet and we're not done with the year by the time I pull that. So we do keep a 90-day reserve. For this year, it would be around $800,000. Anything over that, like you see on the slide, would go into the assigned capital fund. And what that does is provides us money for emergencies, which we've had a few, and then also our planned projects, which we're working on. So that's not accurate at this time, and I'm sure Jessica could tell you why better than I could, but we have to tell you about it, and definitely it's worth noting that that money has a purpose. The HVAC and lighting upgrades, we have been paying off the bond for that, and the city has actually helped the last few years, and any way you could do that in the future would be very appreciated, because that really allows us then to use that money towards other library improvements. And as you can see, we are trying to do a downtown renovation project and a master planning right now. The best news of all for this past year is that we did pay off our Watts Midtown Library. So that's just a huge relief. The foundation has a couple more payments on their pledge, and that'll close out this year, and then they'll be able to then start helping us again with our projects that are above and beyond what we would like to do, as well as help us plan for another capital campaign for private and grant-funded donors. Statistics-wise, we're doing great. As you can see in all of these, we are up, and then print circulation, that's just books there. It's staying the same, it's remaining steady. And that speaks volumes to how important reading is to our community. And then our electronic circulation, as I said, that's up 11%. That's huge, almost in line and actually over the print circulation if you look at just print. Online resources are really big, because we did a partnership program with the schools this past year where freshmen, we worked on getting them electronic library cards in the classroom so then they could use our online homework help. You have to have a card for that. And a lot of them can't get to the library to get those cards. So we were able to work out something with the teachers to get them the cards. So as you can see, there's a lot of use there. That does include a lot of different resources like Creative Bug, our magazine database, people doing research, Value Line, things like that. But I think a lot of it can be attributed to that, that project that we did with the schools. And then we have our general statistics. They're all pretty steady. Reference is still very well used. We do a lot of computer help, a lot of job coaching. We have different organizations come in with that. And then our services, anything from, notaries, checkouts. The list is very huge on our statistics sheet. Over 857,000 of those. Patron contacts are things that we do that a patron wouldn't have access to if it weren't for a library staffer. So we had nearly $250,000 of that. And then we're always so proud of our volunteers. We have our People Advocating for Library Services group, as well as our different boards. And then we have some other volunteers that are just really great and help us out in different areas of the library. So a big thank you to them. Overall, another amazing year. I pulled some pictures from this past year just to kind of give you a taste of the different things that happen. We have, in this slide, musical guests, a craft project with the kids, and then we have the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. And we have lots of, I hit something wrong here, kids that do that with their parents, and then we take a picture when they actually complete it. Here's a picture of our Reading with a Cop program. That was new this year. We did it for a few months. We had a nice turnout, and there's another picture coming up with that as well. Bottom two were paper making classes that we had. You can see kids and adults alike enjoyed that and learned a new skill. And above that is our quarterly book sale, where our foundation helps put that together with, and they make pretty good money every month that they turn around and help us with our Fine Free initiative. So we're not losing that fine revenue because of the book sale. Learning something new, so many things this past year, and then the picture on the left has Carol Horseman. Her and her late husband Jim actually help fund our Tuneful Tuesday program every year. And once there was a harpist, and she had her come up and try to learn how to play the harp. So you never know what you're going to learn at the library. Everyone's staring at the sun. That was the solar eclipse. We had close to 4,000 eclipse classes that we gave out to patrons, as well as some of the local schools. So we partnered with them on that. And then we have at the top right our lantern parade. Just tons of stuff going on. Summer reading is our big time. As you can see, the top right is my favorite. We have tons of pictures. We had Foam Zone come in, and kids played in bubbles all afternoon, and it was so fun, especially at our Watts Midtown branch that has the really big garden area. Lots of outside activities in the summer, and we do our summer reading kickoff with partnership with the Botanical Center, and we'll be doing that again this year. We celebrated our 50th birthday at the Southwest branch in the fire station. Thanks to everyone who could come to that. Both sides of the building had visitors, had different fun things going on, like firefighter story time, and they got to touch the truck, and it was just a good time. And it was a great way to celebrate us being in Southwest Rock Island, even though most people think that's Milan. It's not. Banned Books Week. Here's just a few of the people that came and either listened or read a book during Banned Books Week. And this was the 11th year we had that, and that's a partnership program with the Midwest Writing Center, and it just draws attention to freedom of information and our First Amendment rights to be able to think freely. We get, probably 40, 50 people that are able to come to that, and then a lot more wonderful comments about our efforts on keeping the First Amendment alive. And then our partnerships and grants, here's just a few of them. Thank you for the ARPA money for the comfort carts and the mental health initiatives. Those are going great. We can't wait to expand those in the future. And then Rotary gave us a nice grant for STEAM kits as well as sensory stations for our children's area. So both of those things have made a huge difference. Project Next Generation is a grant through the State Library, and that's for STEM activities for teens. So that picture is one of our teens at an off-site program at Hot Glass, very well attended always. And then our QC Passport historical sign is now at the downtown library. And we miss Morty. Morty was the public art sculpture we had in front of the library that was unfortunately, I mean, we obviously loved him. We have pictures with staff with Morty. He was taken out by not a city snowplow, but a snowplow. And he's gone, but he'll never die. But like I said last year, pictures don't always tell the whole story because there's stories behind the pictures. And we can't get into most of those, but I am going to try moving forward, bringing some of those stories to you to council, maybe during public comment, just so you can get an idea, because we help so many people that we don't always remember or know what to tell you about. And so these are just some of the things that we do with having a space that's safe for people and for families who need connections, because that's not easy anymore to find those connections. And then we use a return on investment calculator. We plug in all of our statistics, and that is what we came up with for this year. We saved our public over $2.7 million with our efforts, and we hope that number will continue growing. This is my favorite slide. This is the slide that really kind of drives home how we do things and how efficient we are, because we only have 36 staff people at 28 full-time equivalents. We have the 3 buildings, a mobile. We're open 144 hours at 4 public service desks every week. We have a whole set of staff that maintain that collection, all those interactions. We're our own website developers. We do all of our own marketing. Over almost 1,000 programs and offer all those literacy opportunities. 36 people do that, and I'm so proud of them, and I can't say enough about that. So I just wanted to show you. They're not all in that picture. I think we're missing like 3, but they're just some great people who really care about our community. And then here's my favorite. This just happened, and actually was from the foundation. It says, back in 1962, I borrowed a book from your library, and I never returned it. This juvenile act has bothered me since. The checkout pocket says the fine is 2 cents a day if not returned on the due date. 1962 to 2024 is 62 years, or 22,630 days. Times 2 cents a day equals $452.60. Please enclosed, please find a $500 check to the Rock Island Public Library Foundation. Hopefully there's enough to purchase a fresh copy of Mr. Roberts, one great book which I've read many, many times. My apologies and regrets for being so tardy resolving this matter. So what a surprise to get that in the mail. And thanks to Kathy for responding and thanking Mr. Stack. So what a great letter. Any questions about our annual report? How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, you're doing great. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Anybody
Got
have
a
any
few-
questions, comments?
Few more minutes to talk
Okay.
about our plan then. I gave you all a hard copy. We did leave some in the back in case you want to bring some to anybody or are interested. This is a reboot of our last plan. Our last plan, I can't believe it's been probably 4 or 5 years since I talked about it. So this is our 2025 to 2030 plan. We started working on it in January of 2024, and we did it almost all in-house. I'm really proud of this, just like last time. We made a few tweaks to our mission, vision, and values. Tree turned into trees. We actually added an S for this time because we know how important sustainability is. So our mission, the big part that changed there is we added the word freely. We want to make sure people know that. And then, I keep hitting that button, I'm sorry. And we also added our tagline to the mission because in the plan, you'll see there's areas we really want people to think of us first. So begin here is very important to us. Our vision is we want to be that first step of discovery, and then also a constant contributor to community vitality. That's very important to us. And then our values of acceptance, accessible, supportive, and honest. I mean, those are values anyone would want in a government entity. So, transformative, relevant, equitable, engaged, and sustainable. Trees, all of those goals and explanations after the words like "we change lives," "we are here for you," that's actually from the last one. We feel that our goals, the way I do strategic planning is our goals are the lofty, the objectives are the measurables, and the tasks or the strategies are what we're going to do to meet the objectives, which then in turn would help us meet our goals. These goals are important to us and they need to stay the same because we know what we want our community to experience by using the library. So renewal, resources, mutual respect, connection. And then sustainable was an interesting one because we actually looked at both financial sustainability, environmental and sustainability. So once I'll get into those a little more, but I just want to show you our methodology. We did use a third party for our scientific public survey. It's based off our marketing software, and we did both print and electronic. So we got over 1,200 responses, which is really quite incredible. And we went through with the board and lots of people, all of the different reviewers that we have on the right, our internal staff committee, our planning committee, our management team, and then we have our staff IDEA committee, which is inclusive, diverse, equity, and accessibility committee. So that committee also looked through everything. We had our community conversations, which with the Parks and Recreation Department. So that was a joint effort with them to get some patron feedback and parks feedback. We did go to Rock Island High School and met with 20 different teens on what they wanted from the library. And then we it's an ongoing Net Promoter Score survey that we do, which is, when you go somewhere and you're like, how likely are you to, refer your friend to Lowe's or whatever? That's what a Net Promoter Score is, and ours is huge. I mean, for-profit would want something in the 20 to 30% range, and we're in the 93% range, which is great. So kudos to Lisa back there in the marketing department. And then we also use those 3 books there. The staff-led strategic plan, planning for results is library specific, and then serving our public is a statewide standard. So we always wanted to keep the library standards, and we always wanted to keep those in mind. And we looked at a lot of different plans throughout the United States of libraries that are similar in size and community. So you can see here, and I know we're going to get started pretty soon with the other presentation, I have listed all of our objectives. For transformative, we're looking at trauma-informed services and care, and so there'll be regular training on that in the future. There's actually a book dedicated to that for public libraries, so we're going to be working through that workbook. We did write a grant to try to hire a social worker for our library to help provide more in-depth service than we can as library employees. We're working on a teacher portal for our website, and then we're also looking at how we can possibly help with micro and small businesses. Particularly, that will go with our master planning on possibly changing some layout at our downtown library. So you can read those different strategies. Relevant, that's probably the biggest one that we have. Things I want to point out for that. Master planning. This Friday we have our opening for our RFP to find an architect for that. So our first step is to get that plan in hand, understand what everything is going to cost, and hopefully come up with some sort of timeline for implementation, and that will make us eligible for some public library construction grants down the road. We have to have that plan. So that's the first step. Transformative, oh, I already did that. No. Yeah, I'm going the wrong way. I'm sorry. AI is going to be important, so we wanted to make mention of it. I already have a policy in the works for that because we do use it, and we want to make sure patron information and library and city information is safe, and that's something we need to be aware of. Equitable, let's see. We're working on our bathroom renovations for ADA. We hope to get the first floor done soon, and then we'll work on the ground level. Big thing coming up in the last federal government administration was to do web content. We have to follow the web content accessibility guidelines, and so we're working through that with our website provider. A city our size is supposed to be completed with that by January 1st, 27. So we only have about a year and a half left to get our website in compliance, but we're pretty far down the road. We definitely have made inroads with that. Engaged, of course. Some high points here. I'm going to try to do some sort of Library 101 program to invite the public in to understand how libraries are funded and staffed, things of that nature. That's one of the big ones. And then sustainable, viable operations. So, like I say, we're looking at budget, we're looking at volunteers, following the standards, and then trying to reduce some plastic use and look at alternative energy sources that could be part of our master planning process as well. So that's our plan. I'd be glad to answer any questions, or if you want more information, you can certainly make an appointment with me, and I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Did I make it?
You're fine. Anybody got any questions? Comments?
I don't have a question, I have a comment though. I just want to thank you and your staff for all that you have done this year.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you very much for having to weather through a very rough start of the year with being overwhelmed and dealing with a lot of things that you haven't had, that you shouldn't have had to deal with. So I just want to commend you and your staff for doing an outstanding job, being professional, and just a big thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And I'm going to add to that, thank you to the board and the foundation for their wonderful thoughtfulness and good, steady guiding hand on this. A couple are in the audience now. Adele Watts is on both the foundation and the board, and Kathy Lalanik is executive director of the foundation and their leadership. And of course, Jenny's on the board also. She's president of it right now, I believe. But thank you for all of the board members and the people involved for the great work and time that they put in.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Thank you. All right. There you go. Tim took over or something back there, but we got it. Next presentation is on the Centennial Bridge, Centennial Mississippi River Bridge, Phase 1. Just to set the stage, it's a collaboration between the Illinois Department of Transportation and the Iowa Department of Transportation, with the Illinois Department of Transportation taking the lead on it. In the audience also is Gina with Bi-State Regional. They deal with a lot of our transportation grants and projects that we have in the Quad Cities, but for Rock Island at this point. And then there's, I think, a third party that has been hired to do this study, and I think they're on. It is by Zoom this week. Scheduling got changed, and so we're doing a lot of this by virtual. So I'm not sure who's leading this off.
Good afternoon. This is Mike Keene from the Illinois Department of Transportation. How are you doing today?
Great, great. If each person, when they, at least the first time around, identify themselves, I'd appreciate it.
You betcha. So my name is Michael Keene. I'm the Starts and Plans Engineer for Illinois Department of Transportation, District 2. With me, I've got Dina Hermes with the Illinois Department of Transportation. Dina?
Good afternoon. This is Dina Hermes. I am one of the project managers for Illinois.
Then from the Iowa Department of Transportation, we have Phil Mesher.
Hi, this is Phil Mesker with the Iowa DOT, the Project Management Bureau. I'm the Iowa side project manager.
And we have Hector with the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having us. My name is Hector with Iowa DOT District 6.
Then with our design team, we have Parsons. I'll lead off with Tony Pikeltis.
Hi, I'm Tony Keltis with Parsons. I am the environmental lead for the Centennial Bridge project.
Yeah, my name is Mark Peterson. I'm the project manager for Parsons, and I believe we have two other folks on. Amy?
Hi, this is Amy Eklund with Parsons.
And my name is Todd Udy, lead structural engineer for Parsons.
Very good. Go ahead.
Oh, no, please.
No, I just let you go. Whoever wants to start the presentation, and if you're sharing a screen or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I'm going to hopefully share a screen here and everybody can see it. So, can everybody see that? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I don't know if you can enlarge it or not. Do a full screen would be helpful. Or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can get. It is a full screen.
Okay.
At my end.
See your pictures, but...
No, it is a full screen at my end. I'd like to. Yeah, I don't know if it's just the format with everybody on the right side there in the information. I don't think there's a ton of minor detail in here that would cause issues, but yeah, apologize if I could make it a little bit bigger, I would, but
that's fine.
Maybe I'll figure it out eventually.
Yep. Hey,
anyway.
Mark, if you want to try go into view up at the top left and switch on your menu and switch to full screen mode.
I am on full screen on the.
Yeah, go to view right above there. View.
Oh, sorry.
Full screen mode. See if that does it. Down towards the bottom.
You are much better in here than I am.
Oh, we'll see if it works.
If not, that's fine. Can people in the audience see okay at this point? Okay, that's fine. We don't need to spend too much time working on that, and we can move on.
Okay. My technological shortcomings. All right, so thank you for allowing us to meet virtually. I know we had some issues a week ago or so when we tried to. We were down there and enjoying Rock Island, and then had a little bit of a hiccup down there. So appreciate this format. So. We're presenting our US 67 corridor project, and we in parentheses Centennial Bridge. I think that's how everybody locally kind of understands the project. But we wanted to make sure that 67 was prominent in there, because we're not really sure once we get to the end of the study what will happen. Will it be a replacement type bridge, or how will the existing bridge be treated in the final outcome of the project? So just kind of like that's the focal point in the center of the project. But once we come up with alternatives, potentially there could be other outcomes. So we just want to make sure that we focus on US 67. The IDOT study process, it's got 3 phases in it. So we're in phase 1, preliminary engineering and environmental studies. Phase 2, which is final design and contract plan preparation, also with land acquisition, and then phase 3 is the construction portion of a project. Typically, each one of these could be 18 to 24 months, unless there's a lot of detailed information that's needed, or complicated corridors. So the phase one in this case, we've identified 30 months. So that gives us a lot of time to develop alternatives and get input into the study. So depending on what the outcome of the study is, phase two and phase three could be shorter than 30 months individually. Our phase one study follows the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. So kind of 3 stages of our study. We're in the first stage right now, which is expected to last 5 to 6 months. And we identify the problems, the deficiencies within the study area, so we can develop a purpose and need document that would be reviewed and approved by the agencies. And this is not just bridges, not just the bridge, but also drainage issues, roadway issues, geometrics, ADA, kind of all manner of data collection on the study area. So we kind of looked to kind of formulate an overall improvement that just doesn't focus necessarily on just the bridge. Once we have our deficiencies identified, we go to the next step, which is to develop and evaluate our alternatives. We get a range of alternatives that would include probably the bridge being up or down river. And then we look at the different aspects of those particular alternatives, and we try to refine them, look at their impacts, and then get down to that third stage where we determine a preferred alternative, and then we provide engineering to about 30% for the preferred alternative. And in the upper right, kind of that, when we have that second stage, we look at the alternatives for their impacts on the built and natural environment, so social and economic factors, historic properties, noise, natural resources, of course, with the river, threatened and endangered species, and then special lands, which are parks and recreation. Moving on to the next step then, this is our study area, and I try not to get anybody alarmed when they look at this. I'm like, oh my gosh, they expect to have these kind of impacts with the study, but it kind of helps us if we don't get too broad or too narrow in our study area. We didn't go past the Crescent Bridge. We didn't go up past the Arsenal Bridge, kind of thinking everything is going to be in the general vicinity of the existing bridge. And then we're looking at, affected roadways too, that might be on the approaches or coming into perhaps a relocated bridge. And then this study area also trips data bank analysis for Illinois DOT, so they can help us with identification of historic structures and special waste and other things that we might be impacted by an alternative within the study area. So I try not to get anybody too alarmed, like you're going too far in or you're not broad enough, but kind of helps us put blinders on some of the other areas outside of the box a little bit. It helps us focus to a certain extent too. And the study area can change as well as we go through the process. And one of the things that we're launching now are detailed public involvement activities. So we have a number of stakeholders, obviously, within the study area. And some of them we're trying to group together, some of the local groups that could influence or be influenced by the study. We want to make sure we get their input. So we do have, and I think I've distributed the CAG group too. It's not necessarily set in stone at all. We're still going to have our first public meeting and still look to add members to our corridor advisory group. Technical advisory group is going to be made kind of our elected officials, emergency responders, and parks and things like that, kind of in that technical advisory group. Public meetings is where we're going to meet with the public at large to gather their input. We've got 4 of those meetings scheduled. The first one, or not scheduled yet, but 4 meetings upcoming. The first one is going to be April 17th. We're basically going to show everybody the kind of what we developed as far as needs and deficiencies, and hopefully get input on what they see could be improved in the corridor. And then we will wrap up with a public hearing after the preferred alternative is decided, and allow people to have more another voice in that preferred alternative to tweak it a little bit, make sure we've got the best one possible, and get their the additional input there. We're going to have a project website. I think that's still on schedule to be launched this week, where we can distribute information, and also people can provide input, and we can communicate directly with them as well. And then just another thing to say about community advisory group is these are going to be scheduled around the time of the public meeting. So local leaders can be aware of what's happening, outcomes with the public meetings and things like that. So now I will turn it over to Tony Pakeltis, talk a little bit more about Section 106 and 4F concerns in the study area.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mark. So as part of Mark's presentation there, he mentioned that we're going to be looking at the social, economic, and environmental impacts associated with the project. And I just wanted to touch upon a little bit more some of what we'll be looking at in terms of the historic resources in the project area. So there's 2 federal regulations that will be applicable here that we'll look at. And, you know, obviously you've got the bridge itself, which is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. But as part of our work, we'll also, you know, make sure we identify any other historic properties that are already on that National Register of Historic Places. And we'll look at other buildings and sites and resources in the area to determine if there's any other sites that will also be considered eligible. And then all of those historic resources have special protection under these regulations. So with Section 106, we, as part of our work, as we develop alternatives, we have to make sure we're doing everything we can first to avoid impacts to historic resources. And if we can't do that, then we look to minimize and mitigate any impacts. And then Section 4F is similar in terms of the historic resources, but it also covers parks and recreational areas and wildlife refuges as well. And then as part of our planning on the project, we have to determine that there aren't any feasible or prudent alternatives that would avoid the use or the impact of these Section 4F properties. So that's all going to be obviously a big factor here when we look at our study area, and we consider the presence of the bridge as well as the other many historic resources we know are in the area. Go to the next slide, Mark.
Thank you. Sure.
And then one more thing I wanted to touch upon was that we'll also be looking at pedestrian and bicycle accommodations. You know, this is a transportation project, and our focus is not going to be solely on, you know, motorized automobile truck traffic. We'll also be looking at the existing facilities in terms of bicycle and pedestrian use, as well as looking at, you know, how frequently the bridge and the other areas surrounding the bridge are used related to that pedestrian and bicycle activity. So again, just wanted to note that'll be a component of our work as we move forward here. You know, we know there's an existing path across the current bridge, and so we'll be evaluating that as we move forward. Mark?
Thanks, Tony. I think that's all we've really got here. So I'm going to open it up for any questions and apologize for zipping through there quickly. And I think Mike Keene for Illinois DOT is going to be the lead on any responses to the questions, but we're all available for Mike to ask us or point to us for some of the responses too. So with that, we'll turn it over back over to the City Council.
All right. Anybody in the council have a question off their thoughts they want to ask? Mine is, I guess, just for clarification, one of the options you would look at is rehabbing the existing bridge when you find out what the issues are?
Yes. With respect to any time we're doing a process such as this, maintaining the existing is one of the options. We're keeping all the options on the table on here. So that's included in the options. Yep.
The other would be is, and I believe it was in there, but you also take a look at the economic impact to the cities, because you got Iowa, Davenport involved with this, is that if you were to rebuild the bridge as it is there or rehab it right there where it's at, obviously the bridge would be inaccessible for a period of time. And what economic impact that would be or not?
So per the NEPA process, we need to look at adjacent property impacts. We need to look at the natural resource impacts, and impacts to property owners on it. Now, is there an exact, hey, this is going to cost X amount of money for adjacent impacts? That isn't in the NEPA process. However, we're getting your input on this, and we need your input. Should this be, I guess I'll take, for example, the I-80 Mississippi River Bridge that we're completing phase 1. One of the early items that LeClaire and Rapid City brought up to us was, you cannot shut down the I-80 Mississippi River Bridge and put all the traffic on 280 because it would be severely detrimental to both communities. We want, if that is the case, which I suspect that would be, we want that input from you guys right up front, so we can put into our considerations, what the community wants or what impacts that would be. Now, again, we don't have a particular, it's going to cost X amount in revenue to each city due to, say, a full closure or something like that. But those statements or that input from the city councils, from the public, that does weigh heavily in what we do.
Okay. Another one is that between now and not only your findings, but then if it's a replacement or fix or whatever it is, the state still plans on maintaining the bridge, in a safe manner between now and then to make sure that it at least maintains where it's at now.
Yes, most definitely. We are committed to keeping the bridge functional, to keep it open to the public. Obviously it's an 80-plus-year-old bridge. We are doing inspections yearly out there as things wear out, as an 80-year-old structure would do. We would be replacing them, but and we'll continue to do that until whatever point, whether it's 10 years, 50 years, or 100 years from now, a bridge is replaced there. So we're committed to keeping the bridge open, to keeping it safe for all users.
Could you clarify, it's a ways down the road because you got 30 months of this first phase and 2 years of the engineering, if whatever goes from there. And then of course, then the third phase would be construction of whatever it is. Funding, and that's, so that's at least 5 years, if not longer, away. Funding, how does the funding work?
So funding, we do have this funded in the multi-year program potentially. Iowa and Illinois split it 50-50, with the broad majority of the funds coming from the federal government. So.
Okay, so funding is in place, or would
Yeah.
be at that point. Okay.
Yes.
And here's a more of an aesthetic issue. Right now, the bridge appears in rough shape. It's rusting, and needs a good paint job. And I know that was in the budget at one time, was put on hold, my understanding, at some point. Is there any chance, because once again, this is a minimum of 5 years away, of making this thing aesthetically more pleasing between now and then?
So right now, as you noted, there was funding for bridge painting that we had coming up. I believe it was either this fiscal year or the next fiscal year. We have put that on hold at this moment while we're doing the study, and we have an idea of which way we're going with the bridge. That funding was like $6 million to repaint the bridge. So we wanted to make sure we were doing right by the taxpayers and at least get some sort of determination on where we're looking to proceed with Centennial Bridge before doing the painting on it. I think the conversation will be popping up here in the next year, based on where we stand on it, how we proceed. Now, the fact that there is some paint chipping on there, that is not structural in nature. It's not causing issues structurally on it. So that's why we felt comfortable enough to say, hey, let's just hold on this long enough to kind of see where we're at on this before we proceeded.
Right. No, I think you need to be prudent with tax dollars, but at the same token, this is our gateway entrance to both Davenport, Iowa, and Rock Island, Illinois. And so obviously we want to try to have our appearance the best for the citizens that live here and visitors. So it's a delicate balance.
Sure. Nope. Understood. Yep. And again, it was one of those, let's at least hold just a little bit longer on it and just see where we're going before we went with the full $6 million. Again, you guys have seen, we've been going every 2-3 years, doing repairs on the structure. So, we're committed to keep doing that. But again, it's going to be more frequent where we're doing repairs on this as we progress along. So we definitely need this study to at least figure out what we're doing in the long term on this. Is this feasible to do this? Is there something different we can do, rehab or replacement?
Okay. Obviously, there's a historical icon for the Quad Cities. It's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. That's for sure.
Nope. Understood. We've certainly gotten a lot of that feedback already, and we're just barely touching the start of this process. So understood.
Any other council members have comments or questions? Doesn't look like it at this point. So I appreciate the speech and the update.
Yes, and again, we're going to have that public meeting on April 17th. We really do want to get as much public input as we can. We want to get that community advisory group set up, and obviously we'll be working with your community and across the river with the technical advisory group. The more input we can get from all the different facets, the better off we'll be in knowing we're giving the right thing for the community and get proper buy-in from everybody. So
very good. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You also. That concludes the presentations. I do want to just let anybody in the audience that wants to speak at public comment in the council meeting, there should be a sign-up sheet in back, and appreciate you signing up. Correct? It's back there? Yeah. Appreciate everybody signing up if they wish to speak at public comment in the council meeting at 6:45. I need a motion to adjourn. Second. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?